Hi, everybody. We're back to offer recommendations for books, movies, music, and more that you can check out from the Carmel Clay Public Library. I'm Catherine, and I'm joined today by Reagan and Susan. Susan, why don't you get us started by telling us what you've been reading recently?
Oh, I'd be happy to, Catherine. I am so excited to talk to you about this newly released debut thriller by Stacy Willingham. It's called A Flicker in the Dark. Chloe Davis is a psychologist who works with troubled teens. She has got into that field because of her own troubled past. When she was 12, her father was arrested and convicted of the kidnapping and murder of 6 teenage girls. Not surprisingly, Chloe's world completely unraveled. Her mother withdrew and attempted suicide, and Chloe was essentially left to be in the care of her older brother. Chloe has established a relatively stable life now in a new town, and she's thrilled to be getting married to Daniel Briggs. He seems to be the answer to all of her prayers and can calm her like no one else. Her brother Cooper is not a big fan of this new development, which causes Chloe some great anxiety. Out of the blue, Chloe is contacted by a journalist who wants to talk about the 20-year anniversary of her father's arrest. Chloe clearly does not want to rethink about all that, but then a teenage girl goes missing, just like 20 years ago, and then another. And to make it even worse, it was one of Chloe's patients, and she was likely the last person to see her alive besides the killer. Chloe's somewhat stable life spins out of control, and she is desperate to find out who is copycatting these deaths. Her father's still in jail, so it's clearly not him. She doesn't know where to turn or who to trust. Can she stop this in time to save another life? Well, you're just going to have to read the book to find out. This is a great page turner and will keep you on the edge of your seat. You're never quite sure who to believe or who to trust in this book. It's available in our collection in print, ebook, and downloadable audiobook. What about you, Reagan?
Thanks, Susan. That sounds really great. Guys, I read The Perks of Being a Wallflower. This book kind of had a cult following, and there's a movie available also. It just blew me away, and it was only 213 pages. Anyway, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky is a classic coming-of-age story about Charlie. Charlie prefers to observe life from the fringes instead of fully participating. He's an overly sensitive, shy wallflower who loves books and the Smiths, and he feels very deeply for his young age. He's also highly intelligent. That said, he doesn't shy away from experiencing drugs, sex, and alcohol, which is why as his story progresses, it's clear that Charlie is trying to bury a major trauma. His story is set in 1992, Western Pennsylvania, and Kurt Cobain is still alive. And Charlie has fallen in to a quirky friend group who love Rocky Horror. The group's life in and out of class is the subject of Charlie's anonymous letters, dear friend anonymous letters that formats the entire novel. And the topics he talks about are heavy. Charlie writes in very concise, honest dialogue about his sister's abusive boyfriend and subsequent unplanned pregnancy. He writes about the loss of his best friend from suicide and his relationship with his best friend, Patrick, who is in the closet with the high school football quarterback. There is a line that I love. Charlie says, "If I were gay, I'd go out with you." I just love Charlie's character. I love it. But you get this sense that all of this is becoming too much for Charlie. And he's becoming overwhelmed. And I definitely would at his age. So if you like stories about growing up in the 1990s in flannels and other hits from Chbosky like Dear Evan Hansen or Wonder, you might enjoy this book. It's available in print, ebook, and CD through the Carmel Clay Public Library. Catherine, what did you read?
Thank you so much, Reagan. Well, I just finished a standalone thriller from Karin, and it actually came out a few years ago, back in 2018, but I saw it recently because it was adapted by Netflix into a series starring Toni Collette. So if you've been watching the Netflix show, you might want to pick up the book. And the book features Andy and her mother. Andy is celebrating her 31st birthday at a diner with her mom having lunch. And during their birthday celebrations, a gunman opens fire at the diner and kills 2 women right in front of them. And Andy is kind of really taken aback when her mom, Laura, takes the shooter down single-handedly and ends his killing spree in the diner. In the ensuing media frenzy that happens, Andy realizes that there are some things about her mom she may not know. She thought she was just a very prominent speech pathologist, but maybe there's more to her than there seems. And of course, there is some shady background information that's revealed through some flashbacks about her mother. If you're interested in Pieces of Her by Karin, you can check that out by visiting us on the web at CarmelClayLibrary.org. Thank you so much. We'll see you next month.